Good day, sir. Today, I will be presenting my analogy of the cell using one of the imaginary regions in a game called Genshin Impact Liyue. It is one of the 7 regions in Tibet where I will be deriving my analogy of the cell, specifically in Liyue Harbor, an economically centered city, also known as Tibet's largest market harbor.
Here is the map of Liyue that also serves as my cell analogy. The nucleus is represented by the jade chamber, the chromosomes is represented by Ningguang, the nucleolus is represented by Ganyu, the nuclear membrane is represented by Bullion and the palace walls, the ribosomes is represented by the Liyue Qixing, the Golgi apparatus is represented by merchants, the protein is represented by business and business items, the Mililit represents the cell membrane, the mitochondrion is represented by the golden house, the lysosomes is represented by the adventurers guild and the traveler, the vacuole is represented by the warehouse, and the endoplasmic reticulum or ER is represented by the ships and roads.
In here, the nucleus is represented by the jade chamber, an airborne palace above the skies of Liyue from which the head of the Qixing monitors all the happenings in the region and is therefore in control and aware of all the activities in Liyue, just like how a nucleus regulates all the cell's activities. Ningguang represents the chromosomes. She resides in the jade chamber, also known as the nucleus. She is the Tianshan of Liyue and the highest person in command, as well as the head of the Qixing. She directs and makes decisions about all the things involving Liyue Harbor, from its economic industry to its safety, which is why the Mililit General and the other members of the Qixing, specifically the Yuhan Kaching, or the second in command, reports to her, just as how the chromosomes are found inside the nucleus and directs all the activities in the cell. The nucleus is represented by Ganyu. Ganyu is the secretary whose office is located at the jade chamber. She transmits orders from the Tianshan to the Qixing because from the members of the Qixing, only the Yuhan can directly report to the Tianshan. Basically, the secretary only gives or transmits orders to the Qixing alone. The orders she transmits makes them start to do their job. Without her transmitting the orders, the Qixing cannot move, just like how a nucleolus produces ribosomes. The ribosomes is represented by the Liyue Qixing. The Liyue Qixing is a committee made up of 7 merchants and business leaders who govern Liyue and everything related to business within Liyue. Like how the ribosomes are protein factories, they are business pioneers, which mean that they create businesses or just start with them, specializing within the commerce and trade sectors to keep their businesses going even outside the region. Bullion in the palace walls represents the nuclear membrane, which controls the movement of substances to and from the nucleus. To get to the jade chamber, which is airborne, everyone has to go through Bullion, the guide and guardian of the way through the jade chamber. He's the only one who knows the way up the jade chamber and basically knows who and what goes in and out of it. He is situated below the jade chamber and is considered a nuclear membrane because of this job. And the palace walls is located below the jade chamber and serves as the gate you have to go through if you have business with the Tianshan. These two are considered as one because to get to the jade chamber, you first have to go through both of them. The representation for protein in Liyue is business and business items. Liyue is a prosperous port city where 1,000 ships drop anchor. Protein is akin to that of the businesses in Liyue because first, Liyue is an economically focused region where every household has an economic mind and their own businesses, from selling raw materials to finished products like food, jewelry, weapons, and more. An example of a business item in Liyue is the core lapis. It is a specialty ore that can only be found in Liyue. As such, core lapis is seen everywhere from the palace and the stores to the houses where the citizens reside in. Every household has something that is made from core lapis. Merchants represents the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi bodies receives materials from the ER and sends them to other parts of the cell. It is responsible for the post-transitional modification of proteins, their storage and release. And the merchants are the ones responsible for receiving, storing, and releasing the goods that is delivered to them through the ships and roads. Ships and roads is represented by the endoplasmic reticulum or the ER. The ER is a network of membranous tubules that transports the materials needed by the cell, and Liyue transports their goods and spreads their businesses throughout Tibet using their ships and roads. Vacuole is represented by the warehouse. The vacuole stores essential materials while disposing of poisonous and harmful waste. The warehouse is where the items are stored, obviously, and the warehouse manager makes sure that anything that should not be found inside the warehouse are taken care of. He's very strict, so you have to make sure that you walk fast and keep your head down when passing by. This is how the essential materials are always in good condition. The golden house is our mitochondrion. The mitochondrion produces ATP, which is food for the cell, allowing it to function. In Liyue, the golden house is where all of Tibet's mora is minted. Mora is the only currency that is used all over Tibet. It can only come from the golden house and nowhere else. The golden house is like a powerhouse not only in Liyue but also in other regions, because without mora, their businesses cannot flourish or let alone get started. This is also one of the reasons why Liyue Harbor is known as the wealthiest region in Tibet. The Adventurers Guild and the Traveler represents the lysosomes. The lysosomes destroy bacteria and other microorganisms that invade the cell. They move around the cell, cleaning up and doing cell maintenance. In Liyue, the Adventurers Guild is an organization that serves as an adventurer for hire service for the people and other organizations in all the 7 nations of Tibet. They take care of anything that is requested of them as long as it has been properly approved by the receptionist Catherine. And the Traveler is the individual who willingly gets bossed around by almost anyone and is present to help at all times. The Travelers take care of any job, even the miscellaneous ones. The jobs are mostly composed of repairing something and getting rid of monsters and treasure hoarders. Lastly, we have the cell membrane. It is represented by the Mililit. The cell membrane surrounds the cell to selectively screen the kind of substances that goes in and out of the cell. The Mililit are the soldiers that are always on patrol around Liyue Harbor. From the gates of Liyue Harbor to the actual harbor, they monitor those who goes in and out, questions the identity of those without proper identification, and captures those that tries to bring in suspicious businesses in Liyue. Their formation around Liyue serves as a wall because no one can get past them easily. And that marks the end of this video for my representation of the cell.